What are the Sharks getting with second round pick Leo Sahlin Wallenius? We do the deep dive today.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be deep diving into Swedish defenseman Leo Sahlin Wallenius, who the Sharks drafted in the second round of the draft from, I guess, we're 2 months now, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. So we're going to discuss kind of what his draft profile says. We're going to look at kind of his analytics. Then I watch some of his games. I'll dig into the tape, and then we'll kind of talk about what's next and kind of what the timeline is for Leo Sahlin Wallenius, or LSW, because that is a very long name. So we're probably just going to cut it down to LSW for the rest of the show here going forward. But before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. These sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the San Jose Sharks drafted Leo Sahlin Wallenius, or again, LSW, in the second round, 53rd overall. The pick they got is part of the Jake Wallman trade from the Detroit Red Wings, which still, it's been like 2 months and I'm still trying to figure that one out. But so let's get to know Wallenius. He 2024 second round pick, 6 foot, 183 pound left-handed defenseman, born in April 2006, playing over in Sweden for this entire season, playing for the Vaho Lakers, their J20 team. So they, again, kind of with the SHL, they have kind of a J20 team, and then they have the SHL team, which is kind of their big league team. Has yet to make his debut in the SHL. I would expect that to come later this season, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. In 43 games with the J20 team, he had 11 goals, 31 assists. He also represented Team Sweden in several games this season. He played 28 international games where he scored 9 goals, 16 assists for 25 points. Also played in the World Juniors under 18. So you have the World Juniors, the one that we see on TV. That's the under 20. That's right around, of course, after Christmas. The under 18 one, that's the one he played in last year. He had 3 assists in 7 games for Team Sweden there, where he wore an A. So I think Wallenius, we're going to dig into his kind of analytics here, see what all the kind of the models, prospect models kind of say about him. Looking at Byron Bader's model, he's a 15% star probability. So for defensemen, that is a career 0.45 points per game. And then 51% chance to make the NHL. Some of his comps are kind of all over the place here. A lot of them are kind of meh, not the games guys you're really going to kind of write home about here. Anton Vasilyev, who is also in his draft here, the extremely big Russian player, maybe a very, very small version of that. But Wallenius, he's not a guy who scores, so a bunch, which kind of hinders his star potential, especially in the way Byron Bader kind of builds his models. Looking at Jay Fresh's model, which kind of focuses on wins above replacement, 2% chance to become a star, and 10% chance to become an NHLer. For him, a star player is 18.5% wins above replacement per 82 games, and then playing 200 NHL games with a positive win above replacement is his kind of equivalence to being a NHL player. So, but looking at Sahlin Wallenius, or LSW, I said I was going to do it. I keep not doing it. Kind of what elite prospects said. They had him ranked 69th. The Sharks drafted him 53rd, so in the same ballpark. They have him kind of marked as an evasive player, transition ace, and a versatility. They have his attribute ratings on a scale of 1 to 9. 9 being like, you're one of the greatest. Like, you rarely see 9s, so it's like the A++ type of grade. But 6 skating, 5 shooting, 5 passing, 5 puck clean, 4.5 hockey sense, and 5 physical. Their kind of elevator pitch about him is a sound puck distributor and in-zone defender with projectable NHL caliber tools, reliant and consistent. They also track his transition game. Like, they track his offense and transition and defense in 12 games last year, 232.7 minutes. And you see he's pretty positive. Nothing kind of blows you away, but pretty positive. His defensive transition, the entry percentage, defensive plays per Corsi allowed, retrieval success are a little bit negative. But he's, positive in the offensive zone, positive with this passing, shooting. Nothing that's kind of blows you away when kind of looking at that stuff. But I think as we get to the tape, you'll kind of see why his maybe doesn't blow you away there. So reading the elite prospects, kind of his guide and what they said about him. Sahlin Wallenius is a player who subverts expectations. You look at the physical profile, right? He's 6 foot, 180 pounds. His point per game production in the J20, and even physical tool grades, and you're expecting like a dynamic offensive defenseman, and that is not his game at all. They go on to say it could be further from the truth, and it doesn't even take many views to arrive to this conclusion. LSW has the tools to stay involved in the play, and even a shot capable of finishing them occasionally, as evidenced by his 11 goals on not at all inflated 5% shooting clip. So he's scored 11 goals while shooting at 5%. It's just that he's a very vanilla hockey player from the offensive blue line. He doesn't use or even manipulate space particularly well. He's neither deceptive nor manipulative. And as much as anything, the blue liner's testament to his guardian is the amount of touches he could amass in a game. The selling point with Wallenius is his robust defensive game, his ability with the puck and transition. I think that is his transition game is going to make him an NHL player, as we'll kind of talk about when we get to the actual tape here. What I saw watching a couple of his games with the puck. LSW can easily avoid forechecking pressure and generate exits and entries at pace. He's not an elite puck handler by any means, but good enough to dangle his way around a forechecker or two. Still, LSW is a bit difficult spot. Most players his size have to bring a more dynamic, be more dynamic to stick at the NHL level, and there's just not a lot there. He'll have to rely on playing mistake-free hockey in the defensive zone in an elite transition profile to find any level of success. The tools are certainly there, though. So, not like the most ringing endorsement, but again, right, this was the Sharks' 1, 2, 3, their 4th pick, right? Their second defenseman of the draft class, and you're kind of built like with these picks, you're kind of going on tools and some stuff that's projectable. And I think for Wallenius, especially when we get to the game tape, you can see like he has the tools to be a really good transition guy. And two, I think there's more to kind of pull out of him offensively, and that's you kind of hate to see that where you rather kind of have to bring a guy back and try to pull stuff out. But I think there's some stuff there, and we'll talk about his timeline. And again, why not to maybe expect him over here anytime soon? But I think he's going to have an opportunity to develop. So we'll dig into this game tape, what I watched, what I kind of noticed while watching his games, and then talk about kind of what is next for his development. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Just as a reminder. So watching his game tape, I cannot put it on YouTube. Like I can't kind of put it up, break it down, all that fun stuff. Just because with our kind of where we're at as Locked On, right? Since we are a news company, we are owned by a news company, can't do that. Also, if you're an audio listener, which half of you guys are audio listeners, I look at the numbers, wouldn't be very entertaining podcast. So yes, we'll have some written content coming out probably Friday afternoon, where I will kind of have some of the game tape clips from it so you can kind of see what I'm talking about on the Reef, where I write about stuff, mostly prospect stuff for the Sharks. But just as a reminder, can't put actual clips here while I'm talking about it. So please don't yell at me. We're going to yell at me anyway. But Wallenius, you definitely see, we'll start with the offensive zone and then kind of we'll work our way through the three zone. So offensive zone, you see a player who I think tries to sometimes be dynamic and maybe just doesn't have the confidence in what he wants to do. So he kind of just sticks to playing a very simple game. Like he'll pinch and he'll do all that stuff, but especially when he has the puck on his stick, he's not like a guy who's just going to kind of dangle around guys and maybe kind of force the issue. He's very good at finding like open guys, especially on finding his partner on the blue line. Is able, like you see that kind of cross ice pass to keep the puck moving. Wallenius, even though he's a left-handed shot, watched him play entire game, basically an entire game, especially with Team Sweden, where he played on the right-handed side, and it definitely seems a little bit more comfortable playing playing on his natural side. But he's shown enough where I think if he can continue playing on his offhand, where he can make that a strength of his. So I don't think you need to worry about him playing on his offhand, as he has shown that he's able to do it. And like I said, as he gets more games playing in on his offside, he'll become more and more comfortable at that. So, but I think for him, he's still has some decision making when it comes to kind of making those pinches and kind of knowing when to back off or when to kind of go for it. And that's with defensemen, right? That is something it kind of feels more instinctual with that. And that just maybe something that where he might have to just be a guy who just kind of plays more of a safe game. Like they said, right? Playing mistake free hockey is going to have to kind of be his calling card. So in the offensive zone, though, like I said, solid shot, especially one-timers. Like he can get that puck off pretty quickly, like a snapshot or like a wrist shot to the net, especially on the one-timers. Didn't really see much of like a booming slap shot, more of just a quick kind of the Erik Karlsson-like, not saying, but Erik Karlsson-like, where he's just, the puck's coming to him and boom, that thing's flying right back at the net. So plenty of that. Saw where one of his J20 games in overtime, really nice cross ice pass to a teammate for the game-winning goal, where he had kind of pinched down low, was kind of, again, it's overtime 3-on-3, but I thought, made a really nice decision to, as they were putting pressure on, continue to put the pressure on, instead of taking a danger, like, or kind of like a half shot, or like you could tell he wasn't going to be able to get a clean shot, holds it for a split second, and then finds his teammate who's wide open, who's able to get it to win the game with the game winner there. And I think for Wallenius, there's still, I think it's just a confidence thing with the being creative, because I feel like he has the tools. Like, you see it when we'll get to the transition here, you see it in the transition game, but it's almost like once he crosses that blue line, it just, like, I don't know, maybe just I don't know if it's a confidence thing or not, but that's something he'll need to kind of work on and going forward. But transition, I think, is where he definitely shines, and a lot of the times he was asked to be the transition guy, and he did a great job, I think, with it, with that skill. And you saw it on the power play, where he is getting the, kind of having to retrieve the puck behind the net, and then he's going through and setting up the power play. And even at 5-on-5, where he's asked to create a lot of the transition, either one, through his skating, which he's an excellent skater. You can easily see that it pops off the tape. And then two, I think his passing, and you see a lot of that, where he's able to not only see guys and kind of those openings, but it's one thing to see him, but also another thing to kind of get the pass off. And in the limited viewings I saw of him, I thought his ability to start the transition through his pass, you saw he was successful more often than not when it came to that. So I was really impressed with that. The defensive zone, which is always a work in progress for every player, no matter who they are, especially as a young defenseman. You see he is a competitive player, especially in front of the net. I know he's playing under kind of the same age kids as him, but willing to be physical in that area. And I think that's something you're not going to have to coax out of him, to try to be more physical, kind of hold his ground. You see that especially in front of the net. Good. I think he's solid to good in kind of the board battles behind the net. You see him kind of willing to kind of take a hit to make a play, willing to kind of dish out some punishment. Couple times, especially in the Sweden game, which with those team game, like with those country games, you have to kind of, you have to be, I think, take some of it with a grain of salt, especially where you're getting guys who maybe aren't playing together all the time, or there are these small tournaments, and maybe you're getting partners kind of shuffled. So give it I kind of keep that in mind when I'm watching that stuff. But couple times watching one of his, it was the Five Nations tournament in February, a game where he would just kind of get lost defensively and lose track of a guy. And you saw a couple goals happen because he wasn't really sticky with his coverage of a player, right? And I know he's trying to scan and stuff, but he just, as he's scanning and looking around and trying to tracking things, he just kind of lost track of the guy that he was supposed to be covering. And I think that's something he's going to have to continue to work on. Again, I'm not trying to kill a kid for watching that one game, but there's just something I did see. So, but I think overall though, like, he's going to be really solid defensively. I think he's going to be, I don't think there's going to be much, like, you're not going to see like a 50, 60 point offensive dynamo out of him, but I think he can be really good in his own zone, especially if he can kind of continue to clean up those mistakes. And I think he can be a really good guy who can start the power play and kind of keep things moving, like maybe a power play 2 type of quarterback, where it's going to be more of a meat and potatoes power play, but I think he can be that type of guy where he just keeps it going. He's going to keep the puck moving. It's not going to stop, and he's going to be able to get the puck from point A to point B. So overall, a little vanilla, not as the most exciting player to watch defensively, not like the big hits or something like that you see out of Sam Dickinson. But you see a lot of tools that I think to make him an exciting prospect to, and somebody worth investing some time and effort and trying to develop. And I think he could, we'll talk about kind of what he can project to be and what he needs to work on and when we might expect to see him. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and these sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right. LSW, what's next for him? Spoiler, don't expect to see him over in San Jose for a while. Kind of much like Matthias Havlid, he's going to be a guy who needs to get some seasoning and needs to play games and needs to I think he just needs reps right now, and that's okay. All right. Not everybody is going to be making the NHL a year after they get drafted or 20 minutes after they get drafted in the case of Macklin Celebrini. But I think for LSW, I think for him, the next kind of thing should be pushing to make the SHL, right? And I expect him to play SHL games this season. It's just kind of a natural part of his progression and as he continues to grow and develop. He should be a part of the Sweden World Junior team, and I think he's going to play a fair amount of minutes over there, with that team and be a big part of that team. And for Team Sweden, is probably going to be pretty good, as they always are, this upcoming World Juniors. And we'll, of course, when we get to World Juniors time, which is always a super fun time, and do our best here at Locked On Sharks to track it. But for Wallenius, I think, though, the things he needs to work on is just the confidence in the offensive zone, right? And when you have the puck, be more confident with what you do with the puck. And you see it, again, with some of the simple stuff of, just keeping the puck moving, keeping it going, trying to find, knowing when to take a shot or when to pass the puck. But I'd love to see him with the puck and the dangles and the moves that you see during the transition game, and how can you can do that in the big part, big middle section of the ice. Can you start to build the confidence to attempt to recreate that stuff in the small parts of the ice where things are a little tighter, right? And you're your mistakes can maybe amplify a little bit more. And maybe that's just the style of play where he's just going to be a guy who doesn't want to make mistakes, and right. But I'd love to see him try to be a little bit more creative. I think that's an area that he's really needs to try to focus on there. So, like I said, for his transition game, I feel really confident in that area. I think he has translatable skills in there. He's quick enough. You can see the moves, you can see the puck handling. So I think just continue doing that. And like I said, in the defensive zone, it's mostly going to be just the reps there and learning the little tricks of the trade. And okay, if this guy's here, I need to make sure my positioning's here and not let him kind of get behind me. And then he's basically got left all by himself in front, just stuff like that, where that, again, it's just reps for him. Of course, like every 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, he needs to put on some more muscle. And especially if you're going to be a 6-foot defenseman, you're going to have to, one, rely on your stick a little bit more, but two, you're going to have to focus on whatever strength you can kind of build up, making sure that you're able to translate that with better angles and kind of proper positioning. So where you're getting under players a little bit more, kind of making sure your positioning has to be much more sound, because you can't rely on just your big frame to overcome that. So yeah, I'd like to see him there. I think watch again, I didn't really touch about this, but watching him kind of gather the puck and kind of the zone for like the zone exits, I thought he did a solid job, especially like the retrievals. I know his transition data didn't really support, at least in the 12 games, but I thought he did a solid job, especially in retrievals. And I think that could be an area where he could potentially get better at, especially with his size. I know his size, maybe not his, but with his speed, plus if he gets that positioning, I think he's going to, the retrievals, I think will start to improve. So for him, though, like it's going to be a few years before we see him in over here in North America, especially because since he is a second round pick, there actually is a SHL NHL agreement where he's not able to kind of come over for a couple years. So he will be over there for multiple seasons. I think it's until he's age 22. So the SHL can always give him up, but they have the right to kind of decline it, especially if, unless he's going straight to the NHL. And I think for him, that's fine. He just needs to play games. And if he's playing games over in Sweden for the next few seasons, that's totally fine. But just, don't expect him to kind of make a big impact over here right away. And everybody has different kind of different paths. So, but I expect for Leo Sahlin Wallenius, I think he's going to be kind of number 3 or number 4. Number 3, I think, is like a really, really, really top end. But I think a number 4, like a solid number 4 or like a souped up number 5 defenseman, I think is kind of where he ends up for the Sharks. So, and if you get that with a second round pick like that, that's a solid pick. So, that's a solid double. So, that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back next week as we continue again. Just a reminder, we're down to 3 episodes a week right now as we're officially in off-season mode. So we'll be back next week where we'll talk about Sharks and Sharks adjacent things. So make sure you're following wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. When you're done with this episode, go check out one of the other great Locked On shows, especially here in the Locked On Bay Area, right? You got Locked On Niners with, of course, Ayuk. Who knows when that's going to actually happen, but plenty of drama and intrigue around that. You got Locked On Warriors, you got Locked On Giants, you got Locked On A's. So make sure you guys go check out one of those episodes or whatever team you like to follow. We got you covered here at Locked On. Of course, you can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. That way you know whenever a new episode comes out. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Till Monday. Bye, friends.